Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Family Podcast with your two favorite brothers. My name is Sammy.
My name is Don.
And today we have a very special guest, Gabriel. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, man, it's good to be here, man.
Yeah, I've been a fan of your profile for a long time, innit? And then obviously, as a part of doing this, I went back to look at some of your YouTube stuff. And I feel like there's a wealth of information in there. So I'm really glad to have you on the show.
Yeah. YouTube was my baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that how you got your start?
Yeah. So YouTube, I started on YouTube. I hated Instagram when it first came out. I didn't understand it. My first picture on Instagram was a picture of a pigeon. I didn't know what to do.
Hey, that is funny.
But yeah, YouTube was the thing. And I wanted to just put out information that that I wanted when I first started training. And then it just grew from there. But like, I think there's like 800 videos or something.
Yeah. It's quite extensive, isn't it?
Yeah.
800. Sorry, can we run that back? Yeah. you know what's jokes? Yeah, I was sitting here with Sammy like on the phone. I'm like, yo, listen, we done 20 episodes. When we getting paid, bro? Hey, that's funny.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. So, in a lot of your videos, you drink a lot of coffee, innit?
Yeah.
Well, not a lot, but you drink
I
coffee.
like coffee, yeah.
So, what's your favorite coffee?
Right, I'm a simple guy, you know.
Oh, so
Like my videographer, like him and his older brother are like coffee connoisseurs.
Okay.
They're like, oh, I want to grind the beans. This one has a hint of like fruit. This one has a hint of chocolate. Give me the coffee, bro. I want to be caffeinated.
Yeah.
That is it.
So
okay.
you're not like a
Nah,
coffee
espresso, like cappuccino, latte, whatever it is,
Yeah.
or iced coffee, whatever. Like coffee is coffee. Sometimes I can taste the undertones.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny because I've been around people who like drink coffee, and they make me feel like I don't know nothing about coffee.
Bro,
Innit?
when he brought out a Chemex, I was like, what is this? He was like, no, okay. And you have to wet the paper a little bit first and then put the coffee beans, but they have to be ground to this level. And then you pour the what?
No,
Yeah,
he's
that's-
doing chemistry. That's
chemistry.
Yeah, that's mad. That is mad. That is very mad.
If there isn't an explosion at the end, I'm not interested.
That's crazy.
Hey, that's funny.
So I wanted to ask you: do you feel like there were any defining moments of your childhood that have shaped the man you are today?
That's a deep one. 'Cause I posted this on Instagram a few weeks ago, and I was tentative to post it. You know, when you just put out like it's deep.
Yeah.
But so when I was, how old was I? Maybe 4 or 5. We were living in a nice house, 5-6 bedroom, big garden, everything. And my dad done a bad deal and lost everything. And we ended up in a flat. And that, like, I remember it, but I remember all the fun times. I used to remember all the fun times. Then I started remembering all the actual things that happened. And I was like, yo, the times that our car would break down, that like me and my sister would have to help push it to get it started. And then just like my mom and dad did like everything they could. And I remember getting my first Game Boy and stuff, and we had to share it and stuff. But it was like, it was a pivotal moment because then I started looking back at it and I was like, right, I can't revisit that in my adult life.
Right.
So then I'm like, the hustle just hit different because I was like, you know, I'm looking at Elijah and Ezra. They're around the same age when all of that stuff went down.
Okay.
So I'm like, that's where a lot of the anxiety comes from as well. But I think that moment is what has kind of like shaped most of it and given the drive and stuff.
Yeah, that's it.
Because I heard a story about you flipping cars.
Oh yeah.
So was that your start of like, okay, this I have to grind, I have to
Before that.
Is it?
It's mad. Like when Space Jam came out,
Yeah.
I was in year 8. And I was like, I started drawing them because I love art. I've always been into art.
Right.
So I started drawing those. And then one guy goes, oh, that's really cool. Can I buy one? Yeah. Went home, got a folder with all of like the plastic sheets in there. I started drawing multiple copies. And then I started laminating them. And then I priced them up. I was like, that one's 50p. That one's 90p. And then after that, it was like computer games. Like eBay started coming around that time. And all the old school gaming shops.
Okay.
So then I would get like a N64 Mega Drive or whatever that's dusty. And I'd take it apart and I'd clean it up. Then I'd find a box and then I'd package it all together and then I'd go sell it. And then incrementally I just kept like getting little bits of money here and there.
Yeah.
And that was like, then I started paper round, then I started working officially. And then like flipping cars and stuff happened just before uni.
Okay.
So I got a car. I was walking down my friend's street, and every time we walked past, there was this white Vauxhall, not Vauxhall, Austin Metro.
Okay.
Oh, mad.
Battered. It was like, but we kept it was there for time, and like you know when like the tires start
Yeah.
flat, and I was
Yeah.
like, nah, this hasn't moved in like months. Looked inside the windscreen. I was like, well, it's only done 39,000 miles. I was like, started knocking on the doors all the way down. Is that your car? Is that your car? Is that your car? No. And then one woman opened, old woman. She was like, yes. I was like, is that your car? She was like, It's like, do you want it? She's like, no, you can take it. I'll give you £50 because that feels weird. Like, so I picked that up for £50, 39,000 miles, genuine mileage, had all the paperwork, and then we just got to work with like stripping it down, like repainting and redoing the interior and stuff. And then I sold that for, what was it? 400.
Wow.
Then, yeah, like I put like speakers in it, everything. So it was nice.
Yeah.
So I sold that, then bought another car, and then that just kept happening. And then I started learning how to do window tinting. I started learning how to do audio installs.
Oh,
Like,
mad.
one car, my Swift GTI had a PlayStation in it and a screen. Like it
That's
was.
a pimp my ride.
Yeah.
That was like there was a magazine called Max Power.
Okay.
Favorite magazine. Like I had stacks. I still got stacks of them. And I just get ideas, and then I'm trying to teach myself how to do certain things.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it's like the more self-sufficient I became in it, the cheaper it became for me
For you.
to
Turn the cars
turn it
around.
over. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was about to say, how much of that do you think that you would teach or that you currently teach in terms of?
Sorry. There's so much that I want to teach. The problem with the internet is they box you in.
Okay.
So I'll post something that's slightly different, and they're like, "Oh, but wait, how do you like grow bigger biceps?" It's like, brother, there's more in my head. I was like, that is like the fitness is probably the smallest portion of my knowledge base.
Oh, mad.
Like, and it's just because I've always been fit. I've always been training. I've always been in sport. Like I was running races at age 7. So it's natural. Then I started learning more about it. But that's the smallest of my knowledge base. If you ask me, how do I change a carburetor or an exhaust manifold on an old school Ford Fiesta, but I can show you still now.
That's
Engine
mad.
mounts, the whole lot, like without proper tools.
Yeah.
Like you have to get a crane and yank it out.
Yeah.
Nah, there's ways that you can do it. And that's what I was doing. Audio installs, and that's why a lot of some of the DIY stuff that I've been posting on Instagram recently, that's filtered in because it was woodworking. Woodworking was my thing back then. Design and technology, that's always been my thing. Art has always been my thing, but it's like everyone's like, oh, you're the fitness guy.
Fitness guy, yeah.
So it's like,
See, Gabriel's a smart one, yeah, because you see, when I was in school, yeah, people who were like Gabriel, but weren't as intelligent as Gabriel, were my best friends, innit? Cause them the ones that used to show their work to the teacher, and then the teacher staples it on the board. So I used to take it down and then shut it. Why not? Yeah, like I couldn't draw in it, so I was just like, someone would be like, I used to get like some of the younger kids, and they used to be like, yo, you see that drawing on the wall? It's cold. I'd be like, yeah, how much you willing to pay for that car? I'm about to risk my whole, do you know what I'm saying? My whole education on thing, and then I'll just swipe it. Yeah, so.
He's smart. He had the folder.
Yeah, he had the
went to
folder.
wholesale.
Yeah. See, like, if I was in school, yeah, Gabriel would have been someone that I would have been like, yo, brother, how do you manage all this? Cause I would have wanted to know, cause bro, like I was a hustler at heart. Like 50p, I'll buy penny sweets. I'll be sending them to you 20p. Do you know what I'm saying? But I did stuff that where when my knowledge failed, the hustle rose in it. Whereas you had the hustle and the knowledge in it. So I'm assuming, because I don't know in it, that if I was in school in it and I saw you doing your thing, I would have been like, yo, brother, how do you do this the legit way in it? But because I didn't know the legit way, I was just yanking stuff down in it. But yeah, I knew.
Do you feel like you've had early financial literacy? Because obviously from a young age, you were sort of making money.
I'd say my financial literacy was... that's an interesting one, because it wasn't great. Like at one point in uni, I was running events. I was running like 3 or 4 events a week.
Right.
And I was working. And I was taking student loan. Where's that money?
Yeah.
Well, I bought a quad bike, Road Eagle quad bike. I'm not even lying. I went on eBay. I was like, okay.
Why not?
Yeah.
That's mad.
And just next day it was delivered. I was like, yeah, okay. And so it's like there were things like that. Like I think I was so focused on the look at me kind of stuff that I wasn't thinking of the future. Because if I had saved that money, if I had, I've done some questionable things that I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
But like if I had saved that money altogether,
Yeah.
I'd be laughing right now. I probably could have bought a property.
Yeah.
Like, cause we were making dumb money. Like at one point, what was it? We were running, 4 events, taking about $1,000 each one.
Decent money,
Yeah.
And then we did the freshers event.
Okay, yeah.
Had Trevor Nelson down,
Oh, mad.
brought dancers down from London. Like it would, and that went off.
I can imagine.
And that was all the hustle of me and another guy. We would. Here's an example of like one of a typical day. So we would, say start from maybe 8 o'clock. I'd go in for my 8 till 10 lecture. Then I'd go down into Bristol city centre and go up to the top of White Ladies Road. So it was about maybe a 2-mile stretch that we'd walk down, flyering to everyone, down all the way down into the city centre. Then I'd go back, have something to eat. Then we go back into town, start flyering again. Then I go back to my lectures, and then I go to work, Carphone Warehouse, from 5 till 8. Then it's like, cool, I'm running an event tonight. Get ready for the event. Flyer just before, make sure everything's set. Relax a little bit in the night. Then just before the night finishes, start flyering again.
Okay. So I've got a question for you, because did you see this as more of like fun, or did you see it more of a hustle? The reason why I asked that is many people when they're younger just get into circles where people do what they do
For fun.
And yeah, so for example, let's take for example Sammy was doing music for a while. He was in the right circumstances to kind of garner that music kind of career. You didn't really have to pay for studio at the start. It was kind of good friends just spending
Having
time
fun.
together.
Yeah.
Did you find that, or was it always like, actually, I've just got this drive to make dough?
Yeah, I think I've always been a free spirit, and it's just like whatever sets in my head, and I'm like, I'm gonna do it. Then it's like I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
At one point, mid-uni, just before my final year exams, I was playing American football, and I sent an email to there's this website called Europlayers. Put my highlight reel together, put it onto the thing. Team messaged me, come out and play. We'll pay you.
Mad.
Okay. My mum flipped. She was like, but your exams, you're this, you're that. And I was like, yo, will you fly me back for my exams? Yeah, okay, cool. So it's like whatever like kind of tickled my fancy kind of thing, I would just go for it.
Yeah.
Because it was, I think I've always been trying to emulate my dad.
Okay.
He's always a hustler, and he has his flaws as well, which like become more apparent when you become older. But being younger, watching him, he's like always traveling. He's doing this, he's doing that. He's always like on a grind, like doing something. Then he's the one that gave me my first, it was like an AA manual. For cars. And I was just like, yeah, this is all right. So then I learned how to I remember one of my cars broke down on the road, and it was something I'd never done before. Took it apart, and I was like, okay, so this kind of makes sense because kind of read something that's similar, started it again. So it's like, you know, he nurtured certain things in that respect, and I was just always watching. I was like, I wanna hustle, I wanna be successful, and I wanna take care of my family the same way that he's been doing and trying, like, constantly, kind of thing.
Yeah, kind of like a constant guide figure to look up to. Yeah, that's it.
That's it. Yeah, I was about to say that's it. Yeah,
Because I see that. I know that you've got like a background in fitness and athletics and stuff, and then I've noticed that your children, they're like doing jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. So has that been an important part for you as well, like making sure that they're challenged physically as well?
Yeah, I think because, like, I always played sport in school, but if I said I want to do, you know, I want to take this seriously, you know, old school mentality is kind of like, oh, but you're not going to make money from that. So yeah, do it, but focus on this. But like, and I always said that when I have kids, I want to change that a little bit, because, you know, if he says he wants to be good at this, then take it all the way. Like, I will help you to just be, if you want to be the best at it, then cool, I help you to be the best at it. And you can do both to an extent, like studying and do that. And then once you then decide, okay, I want to take this route, then at least I've given you the two paths rather than narrowing it down just into one. And then it's hard to kind of jump over to the next one. So that's why me and Aisha just said, no, we're just going to throw you into everything. But he was doing everything. Kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, swimming, gymnastics, football. Like, I think I'm even missing one.
Because I remember a video where you were saying, like, you spend a lot of time in the parking.
All the time. Car parks, sitting next to other parents that sometimes don't even want to chat. Sometimes I don't want to chat. And you're just like...
Like, you're right.
But it's like every day is something. Some days it's two things. And it's like, but the more that we can do that, then it makes the decision easier for him. Because after a while, he was like, I'm not really feeling kickboxing. But then doubled down on jiu-jitsu, and now he's just like, I think he would like be really good. Athletics, he is fast. 18-second 100 meters.
That's mad.
And he's 7. And I was like,
that's mad. That is great. You see when you dropped it and he's 7, I was like, yo.
He's blazing people in like year 3 and year 4. And he's in year 2.
That's crazy,
So it's like, it's just, so I'm like, okay, cool. Then he said, I want to be the fastest runner. I was like, yeah, okay, we'll do track work. So it's like, he's just trying to feed that, but then also, you know, make sure that he's doing well in school, which his teachers are.
So
I think that's something that, because I think you touch on a really important thing, because obviously, like, we're from Ghana, innit?
Oh, same.
Yeah. And so our parents always felt like it was exclusionary. So it was like, you have to focus on your education, because so for me it was music, innit? So like the music takes away from your education, as opposed to what you're saying, where it's like you create lanes and opportunities so that you have a multiple like decision making when you get the chance. And I think that's a really healthy, a more healthy way to look at it. Innit? But obviously our parents, that's what they knew, innit? The education is what they knew, and especially in my mum's situation, it's what helped her
get to where she was,
the money that she needed, innit? So she has I feel like an over-reliance on education, but as you get older, you understand where it comes from.
And I think our generation, like, it was that point where it was the Industrial Revolution, and it switched over to the digital age.
So
it's like, it's a weird place to be in.
I've always said that. My mom...
Like,
no, I was about to say, my mom's always said, you know, you won't make money for playing games. You know, nobody gets a job for playing games. You want me to turn on YouTube right now, baby? You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's a very different forum. I was about to say, do you you seem like somebody who is quite self-sufficient. As you said, you kind of set your mind to something and you're like, I want to do this for the betterment of my situation. What would you say is one of the biggest myths around doing something yourself? So in terms of, for you, what have you found that people assume for maybe people who don't do stuff themselves, but you've realized maybe it goes another way, or you have to have a certain skill?
I think doing stuff yourself, you need like, it's hard to set yourself like a bar.
Okay.
Like it's always easier. Like if you're running a race and say, like if people running against you saying, Bolt, like, Jesus Christ, he's fast.
Yeah.
So then they step up their game. But can you step up your game when no one's in front of you?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So then that was the thing. Because even I remember like living in Bristol, my best friend was there. He left me and went to the RAF. I was like, okay, cool. Like,
Mad.
Yeah, mad. Yeah.
abandoned me. There's me doing solo training sessions, kind of like. But then, like it then tweaks into something else where it's like, can I push myself to the point of like pain? When I started doing that, then it changed. It was a different gear. And like I always had it from, you know, doing events and stuff, because if I don't do it, then no one's gonna come, and the only person I can blame is me.
Okay. Yeah.
So I have to be out flyering. I have to be doing those things.
Yeah.
I have to try and find people, and you know, I started doing more stuff myself, and I'd give people flyers, and then I see them in the bin, and they're still getting paid, and I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. I have to do it myself initially to get the ball rolling, and then it transferred into fitness in that situation, and I was getting to the point where I could literally make myself crumble on the floor, and I was just like, I can't take any more. I was like, now I've hit it.
Oh,
So
okay.
like that physical exhaustion as opposed to the mental one.
And then with both together, it's like you can then, it's a lot easier to take on bigger challenges.
Yeah.
But then that changes when you then have like a family involved, because then the time commitment, the risk and everything, it starts weighing up.
It could be an issue, rather than the thing. That's great. You don't think about how much people's life impacts their interaction when they become a group. You know, I think we talk about it a lot, and it's always interesting when people have those conversations. So I've seen a lot of the discussions online nowadays where it's like, oh, well, if you want a provider, you have to understand that he may not be in the house, so you're okay with that. And then suddenly it's like, no. So I should do everything. And then it's like, oh, so you sure you want to provide? Do you know what I'm saying? So
And I feel like there's this like cookie cutout of what like a provider is, isn't it? Because for me, like I'm very conscious of my children and my ability to provide for them, not just financially, but also like in terms of the values that I have, you know, and in terms of like their educational well-being, and these things are provisions as well. But I feel like men get dragged into this thing where it's like, do you put money on the table? And then that's it.
And that's the thing. That's what we've been taught. And trying to break out of that is hard. Like I haven't stepped in an office for what, 11 years. Like I've had my own office, but again, like I can go in whenever I want, and sometimes I'd never be in there. But it was like to hold stock and stuff, and it was like, because like everyone's like, oh, you're a provider, so you just provide, like you said, financial value. But like, what about the emotional support? Like I think it was when Elijah just kept asking for mummy. Mummy, I want mummy, I want mummy. I was like,
yo,
I'm here. Like I'm actually here. Like, but it's like, so I needed to bridge that connection. So it's like, and that's when I released the series Dad Life on YouTube, because I needed to like kind of bridge that and make him realize that he can talk to me about certain things as well, and like I have value for him rather than just, oh, you want to buy something? Yeah, cool. So it's
because it comes back around, because as he gets to an adolescent, he's gone knowing that you're there for the support and for maybe uncomfortable conversations, you know, that he might not want to have with his mum. He knows that you're there. So then it's not like going to other kids who are figuring it out and sometimes lying, you know.
And that's when the trouble starts. And that's my biggest fear. That like he feels that he's not getting enough from me, that he feels a need to then go to a group of people and elders in the certain places, and then starts rolling with different people because they're giving the answers that I'm not providing kind of thing.
Yeah, see that. Yeah.
So I got
That's
a question.
big fear of mine.
I was about to say I got a question for both of you, innit? So as we know, to my knowledge, I don't have no children. Innit?
You're really out in here.
No.
streets,
I'm
yeah?
not out in the streets, bro. I know I don't have no children in it, but you know, you always want to leave the. You know how like Dettol says 99.99. You know what I'm saying?
There's a possibility.
Yeah. So did you? I'll go to Gabriel first because he's our guest, innit? But did you feel? I always have this conversation with many people, and they always say to me that you're not really ready for being a parent. You just go with the flow. So first, Gabriel, and then I'll get your view in it.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you was ready, or do you feel like you've had to accelerate your learning to deal with the process that's in front of you?
You're only ready for what people tell you. And what people tell you is their own interpretation and their own experience of what they went through.
Yeah.
So it's like day one, it's like, okay, cool. What you told me was kind of correct. Day two, it's like, yeah, none of this applies to me. So all those books go out the window. All of that advice, that you take it with a pinch of salt and like just pick different bits that you think are right. And then it is just, how do I deal with this? Even like now, Elijah will do something. I'm like, I don't know how to deal with this because like he'll say something or he'll do something, and I'm like, I'm angry because he's challenged my thinking and my experience. But if I then take it down a couple layers, I'm like, but what he's saying is right. Now, how do I tell him that he's right but wrong?
Yeah.
Or is he wrong? And then I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And you?
You know what? Yeah. I thought I was ready, innit?
I was about to say you're different.
Yeah, because we planned. So we like, okay, yeah, we're gonna get married. We're gonna have a long time, because I know that people complained before about like having kids too close to being married and stuff like that. So I was like, yeah, we'll give it a couple of years, then we'll try. Then we did it, and we're like, so like, this is going very well. And my wife has taken all the pregnant care and that, and we were like, yes, this is fantastic. And then your daughter comes, and you're like, what the hell?
What is this?
You know, and then obviously as they grow, because in the beginning it's a lot of mechanics, so waking up, feeds, changing nappies, that type of stuff. But as they get older and develop their own personality, that's where, you know, you're really getting stretched to like your limits in terms of like, for example, behavior in it. When you say that you want an assertive child, a child that can stand up for themselves, but then what happens when they're assertive to you?
That's one of the situations I was talking about.
Yeah.
Be like, and then he's like, oh, but I want to do this. I'm like, what do you mean? I just asked you to do something, and you're telling me that you don't want to do that. You want to do something else. And I'm like, no, but this is what I'm teaching him.
Yeah.
So take a step back, breathe. How do I approach this?
Yeah,
I get what you're saying, and I understand because of this, and this. But let me make you understand the consequences of what decision you're going to make.
Yeah.
So it's like if you do this might happen. If you do this might happen. So it's your choice.
Yeah.
Then he makes a choice. Then he makes his own mistake.
Yeah.
Because Jordan Peterson said something. He was like, you have to allow kids to do dangerous stuff carefully.
Yeah.
And I was like,
that's it.
I like that. Yeah. So because that's exactly what I was saying. And Gabriel, you pointed it out perfectly, because we've made our daughter very aware of consequences. So you have a choice in whether you're gonna, so say for example, we say you're gonna sit on the step. And if she doesn't sit on the step, then we escalate by taking away her toys. And it's very similar. Like, we don't discipline haphazardly, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, so if you sit on the step and you're fine, then we have a conversation about why you're on the step and that. And then, but then if you don't, then your toys are going to get taken away. And then if you persist, privileges are going to be taken away. So like we say, oh, you're going to stay over at your nonna's house. Yeah. You can't do that anymore because your behavior is unacceptable. So she's beginning to understand consequences, to the point where after she's had her time on the step, she's coming back and saying, yeah, that was my consequence. you know. And so we want our children to be, we want them to be assertive. But we also want them to understand that every decision that they make
has consequences.
But it's dealing with that. Those are like the unspoken rules because nobody tells you how to deal with those things.
And how much do you feel this turned into question and answer session? But I'm loving it where, you know, I like to be well prepared for my situations. So do you think, so you've got 2 children. Do you have two as well? Yeah. Okay. So do you think that the percentage of you within your child varies?
Definitely.
Okay. And so in terms of that, are you, because your children are quite young, innit? Yeah. Would you say your children are quite young? None of them are teens yet?
Nah, 7 and 3.
Okay. Yeah. So would you say that scares you? The ones who have more of a percentage of you?
No, embrace that. No, joking.
Like, honestly.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that my daughter has my temper.
Okay.
And that can be a bit scary just because she is really assertive. Like at the dinner table, she will say, "Daddy, I've told you need to pronounce your T's."
Wow. And I can attest to that. Yeah. I can attest to that.
Yeah, she's very, and she's a bit of a know-it-all, which I am as well.
Yeah.
Like, so seeing that, like, and especially you have certain things about being a disciplinarian in your home. Like nobody wants to be mocked by their child, innit? So you have to regulate their behavior, but obviously you see it in yourself.
Yeah,
you know, it is weird, but
yeah, she's very pedantic like that. I mean, the other day, I think Sammy was saying something because he came over to mine and we took her out for the day, and he said something. He was recounting something that she said, and she said, "But Daddy, I never said that. What I said was," and I was like, "Yo," I was like,
she's very particular. So like, if you say, I don't know.
Like, for example, if you say the night, but it happened in the day.
Yeah. She'll pull you up on it.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it happened in the day.
Yeah. Wow. And she might even tell you, "Don't you remember?" She'll be like, "Don't you remember, Daddy? It happened in the day."
But she'll tell you you're wrong.
Oh, yeah. It never happened in the nighttime. Yeah.
It happened in the day.
Wow.
So balancing that know-it-all vibes. It's the know-it-all more than the anger. You know, because the anger, a lot of the time, in the beginning, I used to get like frustrated.
Yeah.
You know. And so I'm like, get in that bed. Yeah, because I told you to get in that bed. But I realized that it was escalating the situation. Yeah. And so now when you bring it down and you're like, come on. You know, like your mum cares about you. I care about you. We're doing this because we care about you. And what do you think like your behavior is going to say to other people? So we try and explain it more, and that de-escalates the situation. Yeah. She starts to think, so she's not using the emotional brain, innit? And then it kind of softens things. So it's the know-it-all thing, because that drives me mad. It's very triggering.
What changed the game for me, like you just said, is when like I was thinking I need to talk to the children as though, not as they're my peers, but talk to them as if they're proper human
beings. Yeah.
Not talking down to them. It's like talking on a level, because Elijah's brain is very switched on. But the moment that you start putting that hierarchy, then you can tell it just kind of like goes into a different mindset. So it's like the moment I started doing that, and then I'm speaking to him as though I'd be speaking to my friends or whatever. And explaining things in the same way, then it forced him to ask questions. Oh, Daddy, what do you mean by that? What does that word mean? What is this? And then it's like you can start seeing like the brain expanding and thinking more. Because as soon as like it's so bad sometimes. Like you want to just say go and do this and that, but there's no explanation.
Yeah.
So then they're going through life or like, well, I just need to be obedient.
Yeah.
And it's like, and not ask questions. So then it's counterproductive to how we want them to think when they're older. But when they're older, is that too late?
Too late.
Because children are so switched on at a young age.
Yeah.
And they're actually smarter than us in a lot of scenarios, because they haven't been tainted by just how we live.
View things, innit? Yeah. Because we pick up dogma as we get older. Like we should live life in this certain way. We feel like this has been productive for us, so therefore it must be productive for other people. And kids are a fantastic way to show you that you still have a lot to learn as a person. think.
Like societal norms, that's it. The societal norms
Yeah.
that we pick up. They don't know it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So it's like, so they're actually smarter than us in a lot of situations.
yeah.
So sometimes Elijah will say something and I'm like, no, Google. Yeah, well, yeah, kind of, yeah.
That's facts. You spoke about a year ago, about keeping your inner child alive. I don't know if you remember. Yeah, but I wanted to ask, what type of things are you doing now that keep your inner child alive?
Creative. I think creative stuff is like what I've always done as a kid. Like I remember in primary school, I was obsessed with motorbikes. So I painted this massive thing of a motorbike and I've still got it. But it's like anything that, like using my hands or like thinking of how I can do something creatively. So whether that's like DIY, so I've started introducing more of that, painting, drawing, editing, like creating films, like that type of thing is what I'm still trying to keep going.
Yeah, because I've noticed like sometimes I look at your videos and I'm like, what? How did?
You know, that's the greatest moment. Like because sometimes I'm like, Naisha goes to me, oh, how did you do that? And I'm like, I don't know. Like literally, I'll see something, there'll be some inspiration for something, and I'll be like, I need it to look like this. In my head, I can see the finished product. So unless it looks like how it looks in my head, I'm not gonna be happy.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'll just keep going, and there's tutorial after tutorial after tutorial. Like sometimes I go through my history on YouTube for editing one video, and there's like 25, 30 videos separately doing different things, and it's like one bit might turn the cog one pin,
Right.
and then the next one might turn it a bit more, and I'm like, but it needs to look how it looks in my head.
Yeah.
I won't be happy.
See, because of time, and I think this is kind of a discussion that most creatives have, because I'm a 9 to 5er, because of times I switch off. Because and many people who've watched the pod have heard me say this a million times, I would love life to work backwards. So I enjoy the hours of about 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock in the morning.
That was me before.
Yeah, I really enjoy those hours because I get to do what I want to do the way that I want to. The problem is I sacrifice in the morning.
Yeah.
Because then I got to wake up at 9 o'clock. Now, anyone who does the maths, do you get what I'm saying? You know that I'm getting 6 hours sleep, if that sometimes, because sometimes it drags over and you're just in your world, innit? So it's 4 o'clock, 4:30, and now you're going to 4.5 hours sleep. And so that's kind of my dilemma. How do you find working with the life structure where you feel that you kind of always have to keep your creativity alive and do stuff the way that you've done it in terms of being active and present for your children, but also managing sleep?
Sleep. We're not friends.
He's like me then. Yeah. I hate
Sleep
sleeping.
is the hardest thing, like, because there's so much that I want to do. And someone asked me, how did, like, they watch an edit, they're like, how does your brain work? And I was like, imagine fireworks in a bucket that just randomly goes off. My brain just random. So it's like, there's so many ideas and so many things I want to do. And like, I probably hold myself too highly to get so many things done in such a short space of time, which is one of my biggest flaws. But I want to get stuff done, and I want to finish things. I don't like stuff lingering.
Okay.
And then I'll be ready to sleep at, say, 10 o'clock. Start writing stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's long. So it's like trying to manage it is tough. Journaling helped. Having a pad and a pen, or just having like notes on my phone of like titled, headers, and like, these are just ideas, stuff that I can, and just enough notes that I can revisit it and then spark the same thing again. I think that's the only way that it kind of moved it out of my brain, to allow myself to just kind of like step back and kind of sleep. Because I'm still battling it now.
Yeah, because you got legendary wake up times, man.
The 3:20 and 3:40 wake up to go
Oh,
to gym.
mad. So he's trying to do a 4 o'clock challenge. And when he told me, I was like, you are mental. That's the time I go to bed.
Well, I've got a video on my phone from the other day. I was driving to the gym. There were people coming back from their night out. They were in the kebab shop.
Yeah.
And I was like, mad. I stopped in the middle of the road and videoed them. Because I was like, no one will believe me.
Yeah.
But it's like, at the moment, that's how it needs to happen because of like the timings of school run and stuff. And Naisha trains as well. So normally in a lot of relationships, it's normally the guy that just goes to the gym. But Naisha trains heavy as well. So she needs to get her time in and stuff like that. But
Lord, I've seen what you've done for others.
So I wanted to ask, obviously, because we're talking about this situation, how do you deal with burnout? Like, or prevention against burnout?
there's no prevention for me.
Do you think that's an African thing?
What do you mean?
Like this ideology that there's no burnout, we just have to keep going because...
I think it like definitely depends on your goals, innit? Like, so this is what I was saying to Don just before you came. I was talking with a friend of ours, Aaron, and he said to me, you need to make a decision about whether what you do is a hobby or something that you want to curate into your life. And you need to, because the effort that you put in one is not the same that you put in another. So I think if you do what you do as a hobby, then like, yeah, sure, you can excuse certain behaviors like going to sleep too early or staying in bed and having lions and stuff. But if this is actually what you're relying on to be your future source of income or your way of life and the way of living, then you can't live like
that.
Yeah, you can't live like that. Like, that's my personal opinion. I
think
just
it's finding like a balance in between that.
Because I remember I was with my dad, and at the time I had fractured my ankle. I had a triple fracture, and at the time he was undergoing a medical procedure. So we were just both at home, and it was jokes because we got to bond with bare Netflix. But we used to have conversations, and my dad used to just be like to me, like, this is a waste of time. Like, I'm just trying to go back to work. Like, there's money to be made. Do you know what I'm saying? And I remember just listening to him, and I'm like, bro, I've got this same gene. I've got this same bug where the only reason why I was happy is because my leave wasn't impacting on my pay. Do you know what I'm saying? And I just remember sitting there and thinking at that moment, like, it's like we were ready to sacrifice everything for that better life. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and
I think that's just how we were brought up.
Yeah, and so that's the I suppose that's the outcome of it, isn't it? Like, maybe it is the way that we were brought up. Because I have conversations with many men, and I have conversations with I know you do. And I also have conversations with many females. And it seems like the stuff that we place value on, they don't always place value on. Do you see what I'm saying? So, for example, my mum will always say to my dad, but it's your health. You need to look after your health, I didn't want to marry a man who was dead before he was alive, And similarly, in my dad's head, it's like, but we could be in Mercs and Rangers and have a convoy, and do you know what I'm saying?
There's two things off of that, because there's one thing that my dad always said, which always stuck with me and probably created this hyper-achieving mode that a lot of us have, is we need to work twice as hard to be in the same position as
our counterparts.
So it's like, so we have to double up. So then it creates that drive and work ethic. But then part two is, did you see that Red Table Talk with Will and Jada?
I believe I did.
They were talking about like Will's ego around wanting to do certain things, and she threw a birthday party for her.
I remember that.
She was like, but I didn't want that. She was like, you have this thing of what you think I want, but you never asked me what I want. And I think that's another thing that's been ingrained into us, because we, as black men, we have this hyper-achieving mode and thinking that this is the success that we need to hit. When we get this, that's when like people would see us and accept us as successful. That's why, like, I was chatting to someone and I was like, this is why rappers, they love the big chains. They love this. They love like upgrading their car every 2 seconds, because it's like, I deserve to be here. The amount of times I'll be driving my car sometimes and I'd see that an old white lady screw facing hard, and I was like, what's going through your head?
Yeah.
Then that's what triggered that whole thing. Is like we have a slight chip on our shoulder where we're like, when we have nice things, you don't think we deserve to have it. I'm going to show you that we deserve to have it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to show you that we can get it when we want. And I'm going to work to get to that point where I can have whatever I want.
Yeah.
And it's mad, and we have to work double as hard to get it. So it's a weird construct that we've been, society has fed us.
Yeah. Do you feel like it's difficult once you've been put in that position? Do you think it's difficult to remove the chip on your shoulder?
It's hard, and I feel like mine is gone because I don't buy quad bikes or next day delivery. But it's still there a little bit. But I think it needs to be there as well to keep driving forward for something. Because if it's not, like I was listening to Stephen Bartlett.
Okay, yeah.
And like one of his guests was saying a similar thing. Like her whole drive is fueled by major trauma. And then it's like, would you have it any other way though? She's like, no.
Do you know what? I think I watched that video. Yeah.
Because like that's what's got me to here.
Yeah.
So it's like we need it. We like, and like that Instagram post where I was talking about like what happened to like losing the house and stuff. I was like, we all have our own story. Where it depends how we view it and what we let it do. Is it gonna suck us dry, or is it gonna fuel us to do something?
Greatness, yeah. I wanted to talk about that because you did do like a series where the landlord sort of came back early and you had to like leave. And then what was that period like for you in terms of you thought you were going to be settled somewhere for a while, and then all of a sudden like you're thrown into
it was just mayhem, like, but I had spidey senses tingling on it. Because like I always when I meet people, I kind of look at their body language, what they're saying. Do things make sense? Other nuances as well, and I'm just like, okay, so they're saying this, but this could possibly happen.
Right.
So when we went and saw the house, they were like, oh yeah, we're gonna travel for maybe 3 years. I was like, okay, cool, you got 2 young kids, possibility. This one's starting school soon. I was like, okay, cool. So I was like, so what about them going to school? Oh, it depends where we are. We might settle down in Australia. You're a liar. So I was like, immediately I was like, you're not going to leave this house to settle down in Australia for a few years. So I was like, okay, cool. They might be back. Then when we signed up for the lease and everything, Naisha was like, I know where I remember her from. The mum. She was at one of the school viewings that we were doing for Elijah. And she said she heard, and it's mad because Naisha doesn't, I'll say, what was that? What was what? I'm like, but this you want to hear?
I can't lie, I can't even hate because that's me. Yeah, I can't even hate, that's me.
She heard her say, oh, we're just looking for next year because my daughter starts next year. I was like, you heard that? Okay, cool. So then we went into it thinking that like, okay, we're going to be here for 3 years. But when it got to March and I started looking at their Instagram posts and stuff, I was like, they're coming back. They're coming back in September. So from then I was like, we need to start looking. Like either we're going to move into a different rented house or we bite the bullet and buy. So I will go all out. I will hustle and I will try and get everything done by then. And I was like, all right, let's do it. So then I started looking at houses and I was like, called my management. I was like, send me everything. Everything. And we just hit it. Yeah. And I was like, it was the busiest time, a very creative time as well. But yeah, very, very stressful.
Is that the time that you did the We Buy Any Car thing? Or
yeah, it was in that time.
Yeah, because I didn't even clock, I seen that advert bare times. And then I think I was watching your video and then you were watching it or something like that. Yeah. And then I was like, this guy did the... Yeah. It's happened to me a few times where like people I know have been in like adverts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I haven't even clocked properly that
it's the association. You don't associate them with that. So it's just kind of like, oh, that looks like.
Yeah.
Like someone came to, you look like the guy from that We Buying It. It is cool.
No, that's sick. Going back to the house, innit? I don't know if you actually did it, but I know it was an intention of yours to like build a man cave or something.
Yeah, it hasn't started yet.
Oh, so
This is what I say. Like, we set aside a budget to like do because we saw the house and we're like, this house is nice. It's homely, but it's very dated.
Right.
The previous owners, when they moved in, I've got a funny story about the house itself as well. The previous owners, when they moved in, they didn't do anything for the whole 10 years they were there.
Oh, okay.
So like, and you know, like it was literally nothing. They painted maybe a couple rooms or whatever. So I was like, okay, we need to gut everything. There were some bits like partition walls and stuff. I was like, I won't be able to live like this. Open the kitchen cabinets and there's like rot and stuff in them. I'm like, we can't even say, oh, let's just live in it for a little
while. Yeah.
So I was like, cool. Need more deals. So then drummed up some money or whatever. Found these builders. They're like, okay, yeah, we can do it for this. As soon as we started stripping stuff, cost after cost after cost after cost, and I was like, everything just got eaten up, and like to the point where we'd stripped off the wallpaper, and the electrician was going around, and he was like looking at the wall, which is funny. I was like, okay, that's a bit strange. He got a hammer. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Bap.
Oh man!
All the plaster. It was meant to just be skimmed. Then he was like, door needs to be replaced.
That is mad.
The whole house.
Do you know what? Yeah. Do you know what's so mad? Yeah. I don't entertain. So I don't drive. Yeah. At this moment in time. Yeah. I don't entertain no conversation with nobody who's talking about funds, who's in Canada Goose or anything. If you ain't never been to B&Q and spent more than £300, I ain't trying to hear it. Yeah, yeah. You ain't never. You know when I moved in, you don't know about life. Yeah. Honestly, do you know I had a huge appreciation. Yeah, when I got my flat. Yeah. But you know when you go into people's houses, yeah, and the cold water says cold and it's actually cold, and the hot water says hot and it's actually hot. I'm like, you man, yeah, with your rented BMW with your 5 payments left, yeah, you have no idea, yeah, what kind of stresses we be dealing with when the boiler stops working and that, yeah. So
no, it's true.
Oh, mate.
I'm not in that chat, really, yeah. But
it's real. Like a lot of people that are obviously focused on the outward manifestations of their money.
Yeah.
But it's things like this, because also it develops like a resilience to pressure, because you have these time constraints, you have this want to settle your family as well.
And at that time, I was living with Elijah. I was with Elijah at my mum and dad's place.
Okay.
And she was with Ezra at her parents' place.
What was that like?
Long.
Yeah.
It was long, but then when you come out of it, you're like, right, we did that. And then you realize that it actually wasn't that bad, but it was horrible at some points, because like we're in South Croydon, she's in Norwood.
Okay.
So it's like, and then there's certain things that I need to do. Elijah needs to go to her. Ezra needs to go to clubs and stuff. I was like, it's just long, but we done it. So
I think those things, like, I don't know if you feel like this as well, but it's almost like, yeah, this is the right one. This is the right person. Like when you come out the end, like, because I remember we went through a time like when I was with my wife, and like the hot water just stopped working, and I remember thinking quite distinctly, like, she could leave at any time. Like at the time we weren't married, like she was my girlfriend.
Yeah.
So it was like she could leave at any time and just be like, when you fix this, I'm coming back. You know, I'm gonna go stay with my mum. You need to sort this out, innit?
Yeah.
But she was there with the boy. Like she'd be like, oh, I'm leaving for work, but there's water that's on simmer on the stove. Yeah. You know, like, so when you're ready to have your bath and that, you can do. And I remember just thinking, like, she's the one. Like, that's, do you know what I mean?
When you find the people that can ride like through those situations and kind of embrace it as part of their own, So it's like when I first started, I was doing personal training. I shifted to online coaching, but things were tough. There was, I think it was 2014, 2015. Like it was the darkest time for me. And she just picked it up. She was like, cool. Like, I'll sort out the rent. I'll sort out this. I'll sort out that. And I was like, yeah? Okay. She, apart from when she started at Gymshark, she hasn't worked from that time. From when Elijah was born up until 6-7 months ago, she hasn't worked.
Man. But that's what I'm saying. You see, like, a lot of people feel like I like have a like this vendetta against like the whole manosphere and the red pill content and stuff like that. Yeah. But it's because I understand what you get from partnership. So this idea that like men are on top of women, do you know what I mean? It's just, it's a weird, like, I get what you're trying to say, but it's a weird way to frame a partnership. Do you know what I'm saying? That you're in for the long term. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me.
If you put someone in a hierarchy, like this person's better than this person, like in this relationship, the man is the most important thing. You're not looking, that's not a partnership. You're looking at, that's children.
Yeah.
You're looking at like a child-parent relationship.
Yeah, it's weird.
I need you to do this. Go and do this. Go and do that. That's not a partnership.
Yeah.
That's like, oh, I have this idea and I'm thinking we could do this. Then it's like, okay, cool. Let's negotiate and move forward with that. The moment that, like, even if sometimes like me and Aisha will be having a conversation and she'll just be, I'll just do whatever. No, come back. Sit. I want your input on this. Because I don't want to, especially when there was stuff to do with the house. You know, like I'd speak to a few guys and stuff, and I'm involved in everything. I like to be involved in everything. I was at the house every day when the builders were there. I was doing bits myself. So it's like, you know, I don't want to finish the house and be like, yeah, I love my house. No. Like, where's your input? Where is it? Where can we look at it and be like, that was a really good collaborative project?
Yeah.
Like, we look at the bathroom, I'm like, yeah, that's a sick collaborative project. You came up with this, we did this, and now it's come to reality. I don't want it to be, it's just me.
Yeah.
Whereas some people need that.
Definitely.
And that's the people that challenge you on those questions, on those statements, or those questions that you pose to them about partnership.
Yeah.
See, I got challenged. And you know me, I don't really like to be challenged. So it'll be interesting to get both of your views on this, innit? And I know no relationship is the same, innit? So I can just put that caveat out there now. So I remember, I was talking to someone, and when it comes to me, I'm very proud. You know what I'm saying, yeah? It's been instilled in me from my father.
Yes.
Big boy of can blood. Anyway, so we don't discuss. I'm happy sharing, letting you know what my paycheck is, yeah? You can do your background work and be able to figure out what kind of life we're going to live based on my paycheck, yeah? And probably yours, innit? You can do the maths, innit? One thing I don't like to do, yeah, is I don't like to disclose when I'm struggling, yeah? I just pull it on my back and I'm like, yo, okay, this is what I need to do to sort out the situation. How much time do I have? This is what is a necessary evil. This is what I got to do, yeah? And I got challenged and someone said to me that they don't like that I should disclose. And I said, well, I'm just not at that point to be able to disclose stuff like that yet. Something I can work on, but I'm not at that point, innit? Then that person was kind of like, well, how do I help you if I don't know? And I'm like, well, why do you come from a position of asking for instead of the collaborative to say, okay, I've asked you to do something. I'll provide whatever I need for you to do that until the point where I basically, like, until you can't do that no more. And you're basically saying, listen, baby, I don't have the peas for this, innit? I need you to jump in. Then I know the situation, innit? Yeah. As opposed to, I need chicken, can you go out and buy that? Then my monzo ain't chinging. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, so you want me to buy this? Do you know what I'm saying? So now I have to disclose my position, but you were the one who wanted the position. Where do you stand on that, if that makes sense?
I think, because
as someone who's in a relationship working with another person.
Yeah, I've been in this situation before. earlier in our relationship. And I remember her just pointedly saying, like, you're too arrogant. Like, you're too arrogant, and it's having a financial impact on me out of the blue. Do you feel what I'm saying? Because I assume that because we're not talking about the finances and you're not being honest about your financial capabilities, I'm getting hit like with things where I'm asking you to pick up milk, innit? And you're not able to pick up milk. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because your car's gonna decline.
Yeah.
That's affecting me when I didn't know it was gonna affect me. And that's bad for our relationship. So it's better to be open about where you are so we can game plan it. And again, this goes on to what we were talking about partnership. You are in a partnership, yeah? And so you should be able to game plan with each other about where the potential like pitfalls are around your relationship. Yeah. And then I remember what she was saying, like, go and talk to the bank. Go and talk to the bank. I'm like, they don't know me like that, you know. But there was one of the best decisions I ever made in my life, because they sat me down. They was like, okay, this is what we need you to do. We need you to move. We need you to create a new account. We need you to get your funds paid in, like your wages paid into this account, and we're gonna freeze all of the like charges and stuff on the other account, and we want you to pay down.
Okay.
Every month we want you to pay down that account until it's zero. And then slowly, the beginning was so hard. Like you're buying like, you know, them 19p noodles. I don't even know where it is now. It's probably 55p.
Yeah. I saw the change in your voices.
Yeah, but you know, you buy that, and then you find creative ways to eat that and be happy with it, innit? And then eventually, slowly, like it's like, oh, that fillet steak looks like it could be a little snack, you know? And then you return to base. You feel what I'm saying? But without the counsel of my wife and without the call out, like, I don't know. It could have been worse. It could have been snowballing. You feel what I'm saying? So I think it's really, to me, it's better to be open, especially with your partner, innit? If you're not going to be open with your partner, who are you going to be open with?
Yeah.
You know?
Because there's two things. J. Cole, that track, Pride is the Devil.
Yeah.
I'll play that on repeat. Because just to remind myself that pride will never get you anywhere.
Anyway.
Yeah.
And like, when you're in a, like you said, when you're in a partnership, it's like, sometimes you'll be in a situation and what you're thinking will solve the situation is wrong because you're in a state of panic. You're not in a state of clear thinking. You're in a state of, and that's why, like, if you have two people, there's always a couple of situations that will happen. So that if you see two people, they're both starting a business. One of them has capital behind them. One of them doesn't. When one of them has a little bit, they have a bit of success, and then but once they hit like a roadblock, they're like, I don't know what to do. Decisions become reckless because it's like you're drowning and you're trying to save yourself, but there's a float right there.
Yeah.
But because you're frantically moving, you can't reach it. You can't see it. But then so when you're it's a lot easier to think clearly when you're not in that panic state. And sometimes it's that person that understands, that's closest to you, that understands what you're going through, that will then say, it's not even about here's money or I'll do this, fine, I'll just pay for it, because then that's debilitating as a man.
Yeah.
But it's more of a thing of, have you tried this? Like you said with the bank.
Yeah.
So it's like, maybe just try that. That's not her reaching into her pocket and saying this. That's her looking at everything from the outside, seeing you panic like this, and then saying, here's the float.
I can't lie, you tried that with me, innit? And the banks were like, you earn too much peas. And I was like, what the? I was like, bro, I'm coming to you because I clearly don't. Like, what do you mean? Like, but yeah. But do you know what's interesting? I think it's interesting that men can have conversations about being in financial difficulty, because I think so many people have that. You know, I speak to so many of my friends who have to organize weddings, and they feel like a lot is on their shoulders. Like, we know how expensive weddings can be, and it's like, yo, bro, man's maxed out everything, you know. And it's like sometimes I speak to some of the man them, and their only solace is like they might be going somewhere with the man them, innit, like on a holiday or something like that. So, and it's like if you speak to someone else about that, they're like, but you're broke. Why are you going on the holiday? And it's like, bro, I can't breathe here. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm broke and I'm unhappy here. At least there I'm broke and I can breathe. So, you know, like I definitely get it, but I think it's important for men to feel comfortable saying, bro, I don't have this. Or, you know, I grew up in a place where a lot of my good brothers would be like, bro, you don't have that. No, bro, do you know what? And they would even go as far to give it to you to make it look like you're not taking money from them, innit? So it's not like man's tapping the card, innit? They're just like, yo, I know how this feels, my brother. Do you know what I'm saying? But again, we have to be careful not to enable the behavior, innit? You know, some people are dealing with real issues and you need to seek the right advice to change the behavior. Otherwise, you're just always going to be in a cycle, innit? So. But
it's like, what's it called? There's certain people that they won't ask for help. They won't share anything. They won't disclose anything. And that's when payday loans came in and said, 30 days, what, 56%? Yeah. What? When you're looking at a small amount of money, you're like, oh, I take £500, I pay back 600. You're like, okay, cool. But then when you start looking at the bigger money, then it becomes a crutch. Instead of just saying, I can't. Right now, I need help, or I need help with a solution. Like I always say this is what I'm teaching to Elijah. Don't come to me with problems. Come to me with like a problem with a thought of a solution, and then we can move forward from there.
I think it's so important, especially to teach young boys, young girls as well. But especially I feel like young boys to be solution focused, because it's just such a tool when everything is not world ending. If that makes sense, because you can get into situations where this is happening and then this happening, and because you know what they say, when it rains it pours, innit? So usually you get a snowball effect, and you just have to learn how to have the correct perspective to ride it out, innit? Bro, maybe that's cancelling a few of your Netflix and stuff like that. Maybe it's more serious, like you need to relocate to a different borough or even country, like, you know, but to have at least some idea of where you're going.
And sometimes it's a mental compound. It's not even like stuff that's actually happening.
That's
like
true.
Sometimes if you then just go and sit back and you're just flipping the same thing, the same issue in different ways.
That's so true.
It's mad because they'll be like, oh, this happened, and then this happened, and this happened, and this happened. It's like, it's all the same thing. It's literally just all the same thing. You're just saying it differently. And then it's a moment that you realize that it's like you've just mentally compounded it. And it's like, okay, let's bring it back. And then like, so if I do this, then that's probably the solution that I need. So it's mad.
That is so interesting. Because I used to think, like, I'm big into Greek mythology, innit? And I always felt like the story of Hercules and the Hydra, you know, with lots of heads, was always like that. Like, there was a root cause, it had loads of tentacles, and so you deal with each thing, and then the problem gets solved. And so, like, that's what I always got from that. So that was really helpful for me, because I have a tendency to overthink. And
try and sort out everything at once. Like my mother-in-law actually said it. She was like, well, just view it as boxes. You're moving house. You don't try and pack every box at the same time. You don't try and pack the bathroom, the bedroom, the kids' bedroom, and the kids' toys all at the same time where you're just dashing. No, you finish that box and you close it. And then you label it and then put it to one side. And then you pack the next box. And then it's just incrementally just doing that. Then you've packed the house.
I can't lie, I don't worry, innit? I like, not to say that I don't worry about things, innit? Because everybody worries, innit? But do you know what it is? Like, I got to a point in life, where I was just like, fam, I'm looking at all these people who worry so much. your hair's all missing. Do you get what I'm saying? You ain't solved no issues. You're just too busy worrying. Do you know what I'm saying? Your friends don't like to be around you because every time the conversation is like, oh, well, what's going to happen if da-da-da? And, you know, like, we're going out, yeah? But, you know, it's like £5 a drink, mate. Like, you didn't have to be here, my bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, could have removed yourself from the situation. So I look at my job as it's not my father's business, yeah? If I die tomorrow, they're gonna replace me. That's what they're gonna do. The organization had many issues before I started. Is gonna have many issues when I leave, and somewhere in the middle of that as well. If I take on those issues, yeah, and issues in my own life, we're just adding additional issues. But I leave work at 5 o'clock, sometimes 7 o'clock. But I leave work at 5 o'clock. Yeah, most days, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, whatever. But I leave work. Whatever I left work with shouldn't really be coming into my yard. Yeah. You know, you lot tried to finesse it with the home working, and now you're trying to encroach on my, do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But it's not that. So I just I like a stress-free life. Do you know what I'm saying?
You've got an entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah, I like a stress-free life.
That's what it is, because like I remember working in recruitment, and my manager, like, no one understood that I don't give a damn about you lot.
Yeah,
You lot don't give a damn about me. Like,
they don't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's
you could
transactional.
fire me and replace me.
Yeah, it's
like,
transactional.
within 12 hours.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'll come with my boundaries, my rules, and everything. I'll be like, I'm leaving at this time. I go to the gym at this time. My guy gets a cigarette break. I get a food break. So if he gets to walk around, kill himself for 5 minutes, I can go and eat some food.
Yeah.
So make sure that, you know, I'm alert and stuff.
Yeah.
So I go into those situations like that, and people don't like it. Like, let me not.
Yeah.
Not talk about that.
Yeah.
But like, there's certain people that just.
You gotta check yourself, you know. You see the way that we put ourselves out there, yeah? Like we just talk as human beings, innit? But sometimes you just gotta be like,
I got fired. I'm sorry. But like, some people, they love the whole wanting to be accepted, so they will do everything. They're like, yeah, me.
Yeah.
Me. It's like, that's long. Like,
Yeah,
that's
I'm not that guy. You see me, so I start work at 6 o'clock, I finish at 2. Yeah. If you call me at 2 minutes past 2, I'm not answering.
Nope.
That's my
See,
time.
I'm getting better at that because of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what we do as older brothers. Man.
Yeah.
So just before we round up, who would you say, or who would you love to give a shout out to that we don't necessarily get to see, like, from your profile, that has had an impact on you?
There's so many people though.
It's gonna be one of them award show shout outs.
Like, because there's like my friends that have, you know, stuck with me from uni times, like JK, Bufo, Deepak. But then there's other people who don't even know me.
Oh, okay.
So like, when I was in a like very, very dark place, Eric Thomas.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
He did a lot. Tony Robbins, like some of his, like, there's certain influences that I've kind of drawn on depending on what the situation is. But like, I guess it's just, my ride or die people. I think actually probably I'd say my friend JK. Like, he's probably one of the most inspirational people that I know, that like, from what he's come from, you know, like his childhood was messy. I'm not gonna like,
of course,
but his childhood was messy, and there was like a lot of confusion about like where his mum was. He was living in with certain people, and the bar was always against, like, everything was always against him in terms of like trying to get to where he wanted to, and he knew from day dot he wanted to be in the RAF. He went and did his like, he wanted to be an officer, so he went and did everything. He went to uni, like we were in uni together. He graduated aerospace engineering, good grades and everything, and then we went to the RAF thing. They were like, nah.
Oh, mad.
They were like, oh, you can't be an officer, you because of some stupidness, like, you know, where they just make up something to stop you.
Yeah.
So it's like, cool. Most people would have stopped there. Then it was like, cool, I'll come in on your entry level thing. He's now an officer.
Crazy.
No, you got
Yeah.
He's now an officer.
Big up JK.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, seeing him go through all of that and not really have stability growing up, and that while like it was just me and him, while like for the whole time we were at uni and stuff, and just seeing that process that he's gone through, I'm like,
I read that. Yeah, that's cold stuff.
Yeah, respect to him.
Yeah. So that is what we're gonna call it a wrap, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. So Gabriel, thank you for coming in, sharing your
worries,
story. Like, I really enjoyed the conversation.
You know the usual. Oh, okay, I'll let you finish. I was gonna say the usual. Where can people find you?
Oh, yes, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, handles at Gabriel Say. Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone else has my name. So.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. If you're listening, watching, if you're watching, don't forget to like and subscribe. My name is Sammy.
My name is Don.
And we've been the family.
Bow.